Hello, Hazel. Come here. Come here. Miss Hazelnut making an appearance. And of course, here he comes, Juno. All right. I want to talk about free feeding today. There's nothing free when it comes to feeding. I don't eat for free. Dogs shouldn't eat for free. So, free feeding, in case people don't know what that is where food is left available to the dogs 24/7, so they have the choice when and when not to eat. Um, it's not, it's not an ideal thing. That's not really how dogs are programmed, anyways. If we were to throw them out on the street tomorrow, they're just not going to sit there and wait for food to show up. So they're going to have to go and search and find it. So it's part of just another. In my opinion, it's not a matter of showing a dog that I'm more superior or dominant than you, although it is controlling a resource, just like going outside is controlling a resource to run around in the yard, or going on a walk is controlling a resource, for that dog to go into that event or that activity, right? And so again, I think there's more, in my opinion, the more control to some degree we have on what we are doing with our dogs, it, it's just a more kind of cohesive sort of relationship. And what I see with a lot of dogs that come in that are coming in with behavioral problems is they are overstimulated, stressed because of lack of control. So when they come in here for board and train, we put a lot of control in place, and so that's why the dogs will settle here quicker. They become more relaxed in their kennels, once the initial days have passed. And so the two dogs I have in at this time were being free fed, and so I, explain that to the clients, and how we want to change that. I mean, for me, when it comes to feeding my dogs, that's a little bit of a ritual. That's something that I always want to be a part of, and not just leave this big bowl of food down and go and graze. So I think like the walk, that's another ritual that I really enjoy, letting them out, getting the leashes, getting set up, and going for a walk. I also really enjoy taking the dogs out hiking and letting them off leash. But in all those activities that I'm doing, I have this control over it, and sometimes it's for the safety of the dogs, and other times it's to control the excitement level, which then too much excitement bleeds over into anxiety and stress, and then behaviors crop up. So for the two dogs in, that I have in right now, just to break them of this pattern that they think food will always be available to them. Well, dogs will not eat when they've been free fed. Because their brain is like, well, I don't have to eat now because it'll always be there. So there's a point where they're, dogs when they first come into board and trains, they typically don't eat for the first, day or day and a half, 2 days, whatever. And it's not a big deal. I don't worry about it. It's just stress related typically, and then they do. So for that, I'll put their food in the kennels and I'll leave it in there for, I'm a little fair about that, 20 minutes, maybe 30. Because if they're under stress, I'm just kind of letting them kind of be with that food to see if they will start eating it, and if not, I'll pull it away. The free feeding dogs, I'll leave it in there for 15 minutes, and then I'll come and take it out. I'm not going to use any, through the course of training, I'm not going to use any food in this process until these dogs start eating on a schedule, because you have to break that. If I'm going to use stuff high value in the training area, and then dogs are going to go, well, I'll just wait until I get out and work and I'll get the high value stuff. That I want them to understand that when that food goes down into their kennel, they have to eat it. And so, they look at it and go, I don't want to eat because I can eat whenever I want. And they start to learn, oh crap, he's taking the food away. So over time, they start to realize if I don't eat now, then I'm going to have to wait until the second feeding. And at the second feeding, I'm not adding additional food to that second feeding. They're getting the same portion that they'll do in the AM, and they're going to get that same portion. If they don't eat in the AM, they're going to get that at the PM. So I'm not giving them more food because they skipped the AM meal. So that's typically how I break that pattern. one of the dogs was not eating, and I found out when Juno came in there that all of a sudden he had a little bit of guarding behavior. And so I'm like, okay, so the guarding was very light, just kind of a mild growl. So I could actually walk over there and just tell him to leave it and he would stop. But because of that competition in the room, and I wasn't letting Juno go up into his space and, creating more pressure and stress from a guarding perspective on the dog, I was just letting Juno stay in that vicinity, and all of a sudden the dog's like, now there's competition, so he starts to eat. So now I don't have to have Juno in there anymore, so I just use that as pressure to get Jax to start eating. And then Solo is totally fine. I put his food in now, and he actually lays down and eats it, and he's good. So it just depends on the dog. Some may go a little bit longer. I'm not really worried about the dog not ever eating, because self-preservation will eventually kick in. And then the exercise through the course of training and stuff, they start to build this appetite and everything. So literally these guys started eating the second day, I think in the evening. So they weren't holding out too long. I've never had a dog go on hunger strike for an extended period of time. But anyway, so it's a good little piece of information. If you want to ask your clients like what the dog's feeding schedule, it's on my intake forms. And I didn't have it on this intake form, so when I asked them what their feeding protocol was, that's when I found out it was free feeding. So, and again, that's going to make a big shift in the dynamics of how the dog sees the owner now, because they see them as this, now it's a resource that comes twice a day, and then that owner is in control of that. So anyways, I hope that helps with little free feeding, and we're going to carry on. Thanks for watching.